Good evening. This is BelGeode, and we are back with some more Microsoft Flight Simulator. And tonight, we're going to take a look at another one of my favorite World War II aircraft. So, if you've been keeping track, in no particular order, my favorite World War II aircraft would be the Corsair, the Lightning, P-38 that is, and also the P-40, and this bird right here. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce FlyingIron Simulations' latest entry to Microsoft Flight Simulator. This is the infamous Grumman F6F Hellcat. This aircraft was probably one of the more famous ones from World War II, at least in the Pacific theater, responsible for a lot of downings of Japanese aircraft throughout the course of the war. And FlyingIron Simulations has, of course, done it justice. So let's take a quick look here. Okay, we'll go to aircraft selection first, and I'll give you the basic stats. So you've got a cruise speed of 239 knots. So it's definitely a little slower than the Corsair, despite the fact that they had the exact same engine, which is the R2800 radial, the double wasp engine. Max altitude of 36,000 feet, endurance of about 4 hours, range of about 950 nautical miles. So this was definitely a carrier bird. You didn't often find this one based at land bases, unlike the Corsair, which was seen in extensive use with the United States Marine Corps and was often based at the islands that we're going to check out today. All right, so liveries. You get quite a few. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 liveries, including 4 of which that are Blue Angels liveries, because this was in fact one of the aircraft that the Blue Angels used to use as their demonstration planes. So yeah, pretty wide selection here. We're going to be choosing Squadron VF-18, bird number 25. I just love the way the colors are. To me, that's the classic Hellcat livery design. So that's why we're going to be using it. Now, unfortunately, I do not have a World War II based aircraft carrier to show you. I was looking around online to see if anybody had one that would at least move and also have like the wires and so on and so forth. But unfortunately, I could only find a static one, and it really didn't fit for what I was looking for. But I did find a scenery pack that I've been meaning to show you for quite some time now, and we're going to go into that in a second. So just to prep us here, weight and balance, you can see, got everything set to full with the exception of the external drop tank. I don't think I will need it. I know this is going to be a long flight, so be prepared. It's about an hour-long flight. That's not including my usual shenanigans in the beginning and the end. And for customization, even though we do have our usual registration, we're going to be going by the call sign CAT25 for this one. All right, so where are we going? Once again, you can take a look at Mother Earth here, and you can already see up at the top where we're headed. And we're just going to zoom in, and I will show you our flight for today. So we're actually going to start here at Munda, which is Alpha Golf Mike, and this is in the Solomon Islands. All of these are in the Solomon Islands. The scenery package that I'm using is from Romantic Wings, and it is one of the ones that kind of slipped under the radar, even though I did actually help to beta test this scenery. If you're looking for a really good World War II based scenery, I cannot recommend this highly enough because of the love that they have put into this particular scenery. So you'll notice that everything has a little plug-in icon here, and of course it has a little star indicating it's an add-on. All of these airports are included with it. Now, we're not going to be landing at all of them. If possible, we're going to be landing at Yandina and our destination airport, Honiara, on Guadalcanal. However, we also have Segi right there, and we have Gizo. Now, I know that this is going to be a long video, but I kind of want to take a look at Geode. I don't want it to be completely left out of the picture. So what we'll do is when we take off from Munda, we'll actually head northwest and just kind of do a little flyby of Geode so that I can show you what that looks like. And then we'll hightail it to Segi. We'll do a flyby there. And then we'll hop across the channel where I'll probably do the magic of editing because that is a pretty long haul right there. And when we get close to Yandina, we can try to see if we can do a touch and go. I'm not feeling confident about it, but we'll see what happens. And then, of course, depending on what happens at Yandina, we'll take off again and we will head to Honiara. I always have to look at that word when I try to pronounce it. Honiara. And I'm sure I'm probably butchering it anyway, so sorry. But anyway, that is the flight plan for today. And like I said, it is going to be a long one, even though I will try to edit the video as much as possible, typically during the cruise when I have like the music and so on playing in the background. You might want to get a snack and a drink for this anyway. But with all that having been said, I think we've wasted enough time on the world map. So let's hop into the world and we'll get into VR and we'll go flying in FlyingIron Simulations' amazing Grumman Hellcat, one of the grandpappies of the Tomcat. All right, so we are on terra firma here at Munda, and folks, I cannot overstate the fact that this aircraft is just massive. Holy crap, you thought the Corsair was big? Yeah, I'm going to pop up a picture really quick of the time that I was at the Naval Aviation Museum in Pensacola. This is me standing next to a Grumman Hellcat. It was impressive. Even the blades alone are like taller than me. It's just nuts. And needless to say, all of the details and everything that FlyingIron has put into this thing, it all comes through and it looks incredible. I gotta say, even though you have to wait a little bit for FlyingIron to come out with a new bird, when they do, it's a home run. It is always a home run. Their P-38, of course, you've seen on this channel a few times. But yeah, I'm looking forward to flying this sucker as well because of the fact that, well, number one, it's a Grumman, and number two, it's just such an iconic warbird. Wow, I can't say enough good things about it. I'm just in love with it from the get-go. All right, but like I said, this is going to be a very long flight. So let's hop into the cockpit and we'll see if we can get everything started. And I think for once, I'm actually going to use a checklist because it's been a long time since I've been in any kind of simulation of the F6F. I think the last time I was in one was in FSX, so I am probably way rusty. So yeah, I'll see you in the cockpit. All right, so we are inside the office, and one thing I noticed with this scenery package, because there's just so much here, it does tend to cause a little bit of a drop in FPS here in VR. So keep that in mind. However, if you don't have much going in your Microsoft Flight Simulator, you should be fine. You should be fine. Bear in mind, too, my computer's probably due for an update. If you're curious as to what my rig consists of, go to my About page here on YouTube, and you can find out, because I'm not posting it in the video description. All right, but as you can see, everything is absolutely pristine, faithfully reproduced, very meticulously done. And the one thing that I have to say about this bird that I enjoy over the Milviz Corsair, which is still my favorite World War II bird, is the fact that the scale of the Hellcat seems on par. When the Milviz Corsair first came out, it felt like I was an infant sitting in the aircraft. It just felt too big. But this, they got it right. Everything feels fine. It feels realistic that my feet could touch those pedals and so on and so forth. Very well done. Very well done. All right, now, in order to help us start this bird, we are going to need the nifty little iPad that is included in this aircraft. So here we go. Now, I'm not going to go through all the various details on each page of the iPad, but suffice to say, if you would like a very good run through of that, go check out Avangel's review video of this aircraft, where she touches on each of the sections of this iPad, and that way you'll see what everything can do. And as always, read the manual. That helps. But as you can see, we're on a checklist page here, so we've got a whole bunch of stuff that we need to do to get this bird started up, but it's not too difficult. So I'll run through everything really quick, starting with the cowl flaps. Those need to be full open. Now, the cowl flap switch is way over here. I don't even know if you can see it in VR. Gotta, like, put my head down there. So there we go. That is in the open position right there. Next, throttle, 20% open. I'm going to set that to about right here. That should do the trick. Now, it doesn't say anything about the prop pitch. However, I do have prop pitch on full. That's our prop pitch here. So if I do this way, that is lowering the prop pitch. And if I go this way, that is raising the prop pitch. So we'll keep it set to that, and we should be fine there. Bearing in mind that we'll need to pull back the RPMs once we actually take off, and so on and so forth. All right, next order of business, mixture. That should be auto lean. So the mixture knob is the red one that I'm moving right now, and we're going to set you to like right there. I've noticed when you start this aircraft, it automatically jams the mixture up to full rich. I don't know if that is intended, but it's something that we've got to live with. Supercharger in neutral, that should be where it is by default. We don't really have to mess with that one. Battery on, so for the battery, even though the battery switch is over there, I actually have that on my Virpil, so I'll hit that switch. There we go. And if we wanted to, we can set all of our lights on as well. So we can set that to bright, tail running lights. Formation lights, we don't really need them, but I'm going to turn them on anyway, because it's me. And external lighting is on. Section lighting is on. Okay, yeah, I think we should be good to go there. We'll also get our radio switch on in a moment. Now, this is one that we're definitely going to need. This is going to be for the starter here. But before we get to that, we need to select our fuel. So our fuel tank needs to be on right main. Now, an important thing about this little fuel selector knob here, you can only turn it one way. So you can't turn it clockwise from the off position. You've got to turn it counterclockwise. So we've got that, and we've got that, which is the right main tank. That's what we're looking for here. All right, so now that we have that set, we're going to want our fuel pump on, the fuel pump switch right here. So we'll flip that, and you'll notice our little fuel gauge hovers like around 8. So that is where we want it, 8 psi. Primer, 3 to 5 seconds. Primer switch is right here. So we'll go 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, and we'll turn it off. You'll notice it says over prime because I actually tried to start this aircraft before I started recording. So hopefully I haven't flooded the engine, which I believe you can do if you've got the right settings on with this bird. Ignition on both. So let's go ahead and turn that. Left, right, both. There we go. We are ready for a start. So make sure all of our guys are out of the way. They are. And we'll go clear prop. And we'll hit the starter. Oh, listen to that sound. That is absolutely heavenly. Folks, if you love the sound of a big, throaty radial engine, Flying Iron's got it right. This is what it's supposed to sound like. It is incredible. All right, mixture, auto rich. We're currently on full rich, so we'll go ahead and pull that back a little bit here. Right about there should do. And max RPM 1000. So we're definitely going to need to pull this down a bit. Right about there should do. There we go. All right, now taxiing this thing is where the fun really starts. This is of course a tail dragger, and it does have a tail wheel lock. Currently the tail wheel lock is unlocked, so we don't need to worry about being stuck going in a straight line. But obviously when it comes time to take off, we are definitely going to want to lock the tail wheel. Let me just do my quick controls wipeout. So we'll check the ailerons here, and we can't really see the elevator that well, but we're going to check it anyway. Rudder we definitely can't see, but I'm going to check that by looking at the pedals here. Alright, everything looks good. We can also check our flaps. Now an interesting thing about the flaps on this thing, it's kind of like an up and down setting with a blowback. Now what that means is if you happen to be going faster than the flap speed, it will automatically pull the flaps up until you get below the proper flap speed. And then it will allow the flaps to actually droop. So right now I've got it set to like the middle position because I've got a lever for that, and you can see it's going all the way down to the bottom. We won't need flaps on takeoff. This runway is pretty long, so I'm going to go ahead and put the flaps up. But for some of the shorter airports that we may be visiting, if I'm feeling froggy enough, I might try a landing there. Alright, lights as required, RPM for taxi, low and steady. We're at about 800 RPM right now, so you know what, that'll do. And now would probably be a good time to go to the external static cam so that I can show you what we have for our taxi. Okay, so we are taxiing just shy of the runway here, and I need to adjust my RPM once more. Okay, everything looks good, and we are getting ready for our run-up check. So, run-up check says wings spread and locked. They are. Engine rev to clear. We'll do that really quick. Alright, I'm pretty sure that's clear. cowl flaps need to be set to half open, so we'll go ahead and move that. There we go. And the intercooler flaps, or excuse me, the oil cooler flaps, we're going to go ahead and get those full open, it says. So right now I set them to half. There we go, they're now full open. Intercooler will remain closed. Propeller full increase, we're there. Mixture auto rich, we're there. Fuel selector is on right main, which is fine. Carb air is full in. Fuel pressure, yep, it's in the green. Cabin hood is open. Rudder tab needs to go 2 marks to the right. Elevator and aileron 0. So this is where this aircraft differs from the Corsair. With the Corsair, we had to do 661 on the trim tabs. However, for this, we only want to set 2 marks right for the rudder tab. And I'll show that to you. So, this is where all of our various tabs are. So we've got the aileron, we've got the rudder, and we've got the pitch. So we're going to want to go 2 to the right. We can zoom in, by the way, if you right-click on your mouse. So there's 1 tab or 1 marking to the right. And we're going to put a second mark there. Right about there. That's what we're looking for. Okay, so everything's looking good. Now we just need to taxi. Our oxygen is already on. You can see the blinker right there. We're probably not going to need it. I don't know. It depends on what kind of shenanigans we decide to do. However, since everything is pretty much set, we're going to go ahead and take the parking brakes off, and I'll put the takeoff checklist up. All right, tail wheel needs to be locked. Throttle 44 normal, 54 max. I'm assuming that's manifold pressure, which is this gauge there. And I'm sure we'll have to do the rudder tango. But we'll get the parking brakes off. You can see that the scenery creator has made it so that we've got little campfires on either end of the actual runway itself. Turning this thing is going to be a pain in the ass. We need to do the differential braking. There we go. And I'm going to try and line us up here. Okay, hopefully right there is good. All right, baby, feel free to stop anytime now. There's a good girl. Okay, we'll set our altitude. And we're not going to worry about the tower this time around. We are, however, going to lock the tail wheel. There we go. Tail wheel is now locked. And I sure as heck hope I am lined up. Let's check the BelGeode cam. Yeah, I'm not so sure about that. But we're going to give it a shot anyway. So let's go ahead and bring the power up. Remember, we were looking for, what did they say, 44? We're going to get the brakes off. And here we go. Get ready to dance on the rudder. Oh boy. Oh boy. So far so good. Let's pull the power up. And we're up. Big, massive radial engine spitting out power. We'll go to the outside view and we'll pull the gear up. Alright, not bad, not bad. So there you can see Munda, where we just took off from. We're having a little bit of issues as far as textures loading up. I'm not 100% certain if that is an MSFS thing or if that is this scenery. However, at least it's green and not some gaudy color. So we'll just assume that everything's been taken over by the wildlife. Alright, let's go ahead and close our canopy. That is this big green lever right here. Beautiful. And all of a sudden it's a little bit more quiet. We don't need this just yet, so we'll go ahead and get rid of that. Incidentally, one of the things that you can do is you can change this gun sight. So instead of a gun sight there, you can actually have a GPS sitting there. However, as far as navigation goes, we may have a little bit of a problem because there is no GPS. So we have no idea where in the heck we're actually going. Now, I know where I think we're going, but in order to kind of verify that, maybe what we should do is we should open up the little VFR map. Yes, I know it's cheating. Try not to crucify me too much in the comments. Alright, map, where are you? There you are. Okay, okay. We're going to stretch it out a bit here. And I believe the airport is on one of these small islands here. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it may take us a little while to get there. So maybe, just maybe, we should concentrate on actually flying the flight plan as opposed to checking out that last airport. Take my word for it, it is pretty cool. The airport that we will not be seeing right now, but you can check that out in your own time. And I'm sure you will agree with me, it is definitely one of the cooler and more challenging airports that comes with this thing. Alright, so we've got throttle set to about 80 or so %. And let's see how we're doing with RPMs. Looking good. Everything is looking sweet with this bird. This is freaking awesome. I'm telling you, I'm in love with this bird. Of course, we could also try some shenanigans, but considering how slow we're going, relatively speaking, I doubt it's going to end very well. We'll try a quick aileron roll here. After all, this is one of the aircraft that could best the Japanese Zero, so I would hope that it can actually fly the way I would like it to. But yeah, it's definitely no Corsair. I will give it that. That's not necessarily a bad thing, by the way. Alright, so we are headed to our first stop, which is Segi. I will remind you. You can see it there on the little VFR map coming up there. So according to the map, we basically need to just follow the coastline straight ahead, and that should eventually run us into where we want to be. Now, I'm not planning on landing at Segi, so we're just going to do like a quick flyby, and I'll kind of show you some of the scenery objects that they've got there. But there you can see where we took off from, and you can see we were parked way off in the corner where those woods are. It's pretty decent stuff. I'm going to turn a little bit more this way, and there we go. Now, you know, I haven't checked to see if this thing has autopilot, but I'm pretty certain that it should, because usually the aircraft from FlyingIron Simulations do have an autopilot built in to the little iPad. So let's check that really quick while we're climbing here. Alright, autopilot, that is you. And let's see what we've got here. Okay, okay, okay. So yeah, it does look like it's exactly the same autopilot that was in the P-38, which is great. So that means I can set autopilot on and set nav hold on. And you can see she is doing her thing, but she's still climbing, which is also great. Now, is she going to straighten out? Yeah, it looks like she is. I'm okay with that. Is it realistic having autopilot in a World War II bird such as this? Definitely not. Definitely not. At least not this bird. I know some World War II aircraft did actually have like Sperry autopilots and so on. But for what it is, do you hear me complaining? Not at all. Not at all. Alright, I may just use the heading hold, however, instead of the nav hold. So we're going to set it to heading hold here. And I am going to see if I can set us on the right track here. So let me see, about heading, what would that be? 120 maybe? We'll try that. See where that puts us. We're still climbing. I'm okay with that. There we go. That's looking good. And we're going through the clouds. Now, just so you're aware, even though you probably saw the pop-up in the intro portion of this video, I am still on Sim Update 9. So, Sim Update 10 is delayed again. It should be coming pretty soon, probably the same week that this video releases, but obviously, since it's been a while since I've put out a Microsoft Flight Simulator video, I kind of wanted to get this one out there before Sim Update 10 actually arrives. So if you were expecting a first look at Sim Update 10, sorry to disappoint you there. But with that having been said, I am sure that by the time you're watching this, you may actually be enjoying Sim Update 10. And then, of course, you can expect me to do some kind of a chill vid on it at some point in time in the very near future. Alright, but we are still climbing. I'm going to bring her up a little bit more. We're just over 3,000 feet, as you can see. And I'm thinking, since we're heading east, we could probably bring her up to about 5,000, and that'll get us out of these clouds. But for now, I think it is time for my usual music interlude on our way into Segi. And when we get back, we should be exactly where we need to be. Okay, and we are back from our musical interlude, and we are closing in on Segi, as you can no doubt see. So I've stabilized us right around 3851 in altitude, but I need to check my barometer just to make sure everything is kosher. Looks like a slight difference, but I'm okay with that. And as you can see, we are just passing the bigger island, and Segi is going to be at the very bottom. So you see where that little archipelago is? pretty much at somewhere down there. We are drifting a little bit because, of course, I am using the heading hold as opposed to the nav hold. So what we can do is turn off the autopilot. And let's go ahead and get rid of this thing. We'll put it back on a little bit later. But for right now, I just want to make sure that we are at least heading in the right direction. And we're probably going to dive bomb the island, even though it is a friendly island. I use the term dive bomb loosely because obviously we're not in a combat flight sim. And also, it's friendly. We don't want blue on blue. But we do want a really good look at that little airstrip. So that is why we're heading down there. Alright, so we're pointed in this direction, and holy crap, the sun. Woo! Yeah, about that. I'm going to keep my head down here. Alright, so we're starting our descent, and let me zoom this in a little bit here. There we go, that's what we're looking for. And we'll just head straight down. Now, you'll notice that once I let go of the stick, the trim is a little bit off, so we can always adjust that with the knobs. It is helpful if you happen to have a stick and throttle system, you know, like a HOTAS system. It is very helpful to make sure that you have something set to your trim tabs, so that way you can adjust that on the fly. And if you get it right, when you get it right, she should just stay put. Right now I'm making small inputs to adjust here, and then I'm checking my trim just to make sure everything is kosher. And don't forget, I still have the rudder set to 2 units right, so I can actually pull that back, put it to 1 unit left, and we'll see what she does here. Give her a little bit of aileron trim to the right to compensate for it. There we go. And look at that, we've got all these boats over here, so we're going to need to check this out. I'm assuming these are, you know, warships that are bringing in the soldiers, the Marines that are going to be doing the landings here in the Solomon Islands. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. Now, of course, all the villages that you're seeing, those are defaults. So we actually do not have any World War II era villages, which, to be honest with you, there really wouldn't be much there. Bunch of native huts perhaps, but as you can see, we definitely do have some shipping here. That all comes with the scenery pack. So there we go. And Aggie is going to be our next stop, and as I stated, we will be doing the magic of editing for that one because that is going to be our longest leg. But let's see if we can find this little airstrip first, and we'll check it out. Doesn't appear to be much here, but I do know that our airstrip should be right over here. Yep, as a matter of fact, this is it right here. As you can see, it is a grass strip. We're going to swing ourselves around here. Give her a little bit more power. And there we go. Not sure how well you can see with the reflection in the canopy, but that is Segi. Of course, the green is not accurate. It should be brown, but again, we're having some kind of a texture issue here in Microsoft Flight Simulator, so we'll have to forgive that. All right, but that was Segi. So we're going to head to Aggie next, which is Yandina. Now, honestly, Yandina is one of those places that even though I don't know much about it in real life, or at least the part that it played in World War II, I find that it is one of the airports that I actually enjoy flying into. At least I have ever since FSX was around. There used to be a scenery pack for FSX that put all of these airports here, and Yandina was often my default location because if you look at its position in the Solomon Islands, it's pretty much smack dab in between everything else. So I'm hoping that is going to be the case here as well. It is debatable as to whether or not I will decide to do a touch and go. May bypass the whole touch and go business and we'll just do another flyby like we did here. But we'll see once we get there. And you know what? I am going to switch my rudder again. So let's go ahead and put that more to the right. So 2 units right. And as you can see, yeah, she is all over the place. So we're going to give her some right aileron and some elevator pitch. There we go. How are we doing on speed? It says that we are roughly about 215 in knots. So we're at a pretty good cruise speed. If we were higher up, of course, we'd be able to get more mileage out of it. But I kind of like being low and slow. It's not like we're going to get jumped by a bunch of Mitsubishi Zeros, unless, of course, there are players flying. But nobody knows I'm recording today, so I should be okay. We shouldn't have any surprise guests. I hope. We'll see how that works. Alright, but like I said, it's going to take us a pretty long time to get to Yandina, and I know that this video is eating up a lot of time. So I'm going to see if I can bring us up to our cruise altitude. So roughly about 5,000 feet, maybe. I don't want to go too high, but I at least want to get over these clouds so that way we can put the autopilot back on and basically just cruise our way to Yandina, and then I can give you another musical interlude. As far as flight handling for this bird, it is absolutely superb. Aside from the issues that I've had just trying to keep her trimmed out and everything, she responds really well. She's no Corsair, but she is every bit the World War II fighter of legend. So I really cannot complain too much about this aircraft. I would, however, love to see this in DCS World or even in IL-2. I know we're all pretty much waiting for IL-2 to start showing more Pacific theater, but I don't know what their holdup is on that, and I am not about to get in their face about it. When it comes, if it ever comes. But as far as DCS goes, yeah, if FlyingIron wants to see if they can port this puppy over to DCS, I will not say no to that, because we're still waiting for the Corsair in DCS. We have the P-47, the Thunderbolt. Incidentally, all 3 of those planes use the same engine. But yeah, I would love to see this there too, along with some World War II carriers, since we were supposed to get one with a Corsair as well. Alright, I think we are where we need to be. We're actually a little higher than we should be, I think. But you know what? I'm not going to complain too much. We are, looks like over 10,000 feet, so okay. Oh no, we're not quite at 10,000 feet. We're at 6,500. I read that wrong. We'll bring her up to about 7,000. I'm sure that'll be fine. That sunlight. Whew! Killing me there. Alright, I'm going to point us directly towards Yandina using the little cheat VFR map. And we're going to set that up. Set that heading up. And we'll keep climbing. We're just over 7,000. Maybe we can take her to 9,000, and that should be good. We can also pull this back up, and that'll help us out. Okay, there we go. 8,000 feet looks good. So go ahead and set that up. Alright, I'm liking that. I am liking that. I'm going to change our heading slightly here, so we'll go to about 106. That should be good. Check our barometer. Barometer is saying we are fine. And we are slowly coming down to our cruise altitude. Alright, so since everything is looking good here, and we have our manifold pressure right around 35, RPM is, let's see, how would I read that? About 2,600? Does that look about right to you? I should think so. I'm going to pull the RPMs down a little here. Really don't need to be that high with it, so 2,500 should be fine. I don't think we're going to blow up the engine, or at least I hope not. And we are off course slightly, so I am going to turn us to about 100, and that should be good for government work. Alright, so let's go back to the outside view, and like I said, we're going to do the magic of editing here, so we'll play through our little musical interlude, and when we come back, we should be just about ready to land in Yandina, or at least attempt to touch and go. Alrighty folks, welcome back, and we are just about over Yandina now, as you will see on the map there. We've been doing the nav hold for the autopilot this entire time as I was outside doing the little cinematic thing. So we are pretty much headed right for our destination, but about now I'm going to turn off the autopilot. So autopilot is off. And we're going to do a tactical descent here. So throttle to idle. We're going to get our RPMs back up. And I really should have closed the cowl flaps. However, I forgot. We should be fine though. If you look at the temperatures and everything, it looks like we're pretty decent. I don't see any issues there with it, so I'm okay with that. Now this is, of course, one of the areas of the world with Microsoft Flight Simulator that they really haven't done too much with the ground textures. So you'll notice a whole bunch of white patches. Those are all clouds on the ortho photos. And of course, the automated system that does the, I guess, texturing and autogen and so on, it's treating it just as like an open space, so there's no trees being represented on it, and it kind of looks a little weird. It definitely does look a little bit weird, but you know, it is what it is. Hopefully one of these days we'll actually get some kind of a world update that will address that area, but I'm not too optimistic about it. Alright, I'm going to pull the power back in, so once again we'll set our RPMs for close to 2600 and keep heading off in this direction and see if we can find our airbase. I want to say it is just past these mountains here on the flatland area on the eastern side of the island. We can of course zoom in the VFR map. So yeah, you'll see that it's actually split into multiple islands. There we go. And we should be right on course for the island there. Pull the prop pitch back down a little. So we're at about 22 inches of manifold pressure and 2600 RPMs. She is just purring like a kitten. A hell kitten, if you will. Yeah, I know, silly joke. I absolutely love this bird. I really can't find too much to complain about, aside from the fact that trimming it is a beast. But other than that, I love everything about this bird. This is exactly what I was hoping that FlyingIron Simulations was going to bring to Microsoft Flight Simulator, and they have done it justice, most definitely. Alright, I didn't sign up for any IFR here, so we're going to see if we can dip below this cloud. And I'm still kind of on the fence about doing a touch and go. We might try it. But first, let's go to the outside view really quick to the BelGeode landing cam, and we'll do a flyby on the airport and see if it's a good idea to land here. You know what, folks? I think I'm going to try it. This could go horribly wrong, but I do have our rudder trim set properly, and I do have enough gas, I hope, for this. But yeah, we're going to give it a shot. So what's our speed? 160. We're going to need to pull that back a little bit here. So there is Yandina, and we're just going to head downwind here a little bit. Lose some airspeed. We'll go ahead and get the gear down. There we go. And remember, this will be a touch and go, so don't expect a full-fledged landing. We're just going to attempt this here. Speed's coming down nicely. We can drop the flaps. Remember that we do have the blowback on the flaps. But thankfully, we're slow enough that the flaps are, in fact, coming out. So we'll begin our turn to final here. Give her some more airspeed. You can hear all the little clicks and rattles there. Love it. This is the kind of stuff that makes this aircraft feel alive, and I am here for it. Probably should have our canopy open though, so let me see if I can do that really quick without crashing us. There we go. Alright. So here we go, folks. Wish me luck. I'm going to pull the power back. Prop pitch is at full RPM, just in case. Now, unlike the Corsair, we don't have a very massive nose, but because of the fact that it still has a huge propeller, the landing gear is a little bit taller than it otherwise should be. And look at that, there's a World War II sub right there. I'm hoping that's friendly. I think it is. Alright, let's see if we can pull her in. What do you say, folks? We go to the BelGeode landing cam? Or do we try our luck here? We're going to try our luck. I've got my feet on the rudder pedals. I'm a little bit shaky, but then so is the air. Pull the power back. And we'll see what happens. A little bit of a bounce. But we're down. Let's give it power. Oh yeah, that is nice. That is nice. Let's get the flaps up. Flaps are coming up. Let's get the gear up. The gear is coming up. And look at that little ship. That is awesome. Okay, so we're going to head off in this direction. And once again, I'm going to give us a little bit more right aileron trim. See what I have that set to. Yeah, it's pretty fair to the right there. We can probably adjust a bit with the rudder trim as well. But yeah, we're looking good. Pull the power back a bit, or the RPMs I should say. 2600 should be nice. 35 on the manifold pressure, and yeah, I'm feeling good about this. All right, so we are ready for our last leg as we head to Honiara. And again, I make no promises on whether or not I am pronouncing that correctly. All right, let's get our nav hold back on. And we close our canopy. It's a beautiful thing, folks. It's a beautiful thing. All right, back to the outside view we go. And we'll do some more cinematics. So once again, hope you enjoyed a little musical interlude here. We are just about coming into Guadalcanal, and we still got a little ways to go before we actually land. Now what I've done off camera is I actually switched our fuel tanks. Because if you notice, see our little fuel gauge over there? Right tank was just about empty. So now that we've switched, we are running off the left tank, and that also probably explains a good portion of why I was having issues trimming this bird. But it's stuff like that that I really enjoy about an aircraft, when they pay attention to how the loadout of the aircraft affects the actual flight dynamics. That's the kind of stuff that I find really intriguing and really makes an add-on shine. Now, the real question, where exactly is our airport? I know we got to pass the bay here, so let me zoom this out a little. Okay, so there it is. We've got to get across the bay and then we'll come into AGGH. Now, the layout of this airport is interesting because back in World War II, it was actually two airports in one. So there was the bomber strip, and there was the fighter strip, and of course there was a taxiway that connected the two back and forth, just in case you needed to land fighters on, say, the bomber strip, and then ferry them back over to the fighter side. Now we are going to try and see if we can land on the fighter strip, which should be in the direction that we're facing, the right-hand side, or the right-hand runway. Now, I believe the modern airport only has one runway, and it's not exactly in the same exact position as the World War II variety was. But for the purposes of this add-on scenery, Romantic Wings has placed it pretty much in the same spot. So, if I'm not too mistaken, it should replace what you would have there normally. Alright, well, we should be getting ready to descend, so I'm going to take the altitude hold off, or actually I'm going to take the autopilot off altogether. We'll see what the bird does. She's leaning a little bit to the right. That's because I put a lot of right aileron trim in. So we'll kind of trim that out. Just trim it out, brah. And we'll start heading down. Pull the power back a bit, so about 20 inches on manifold pressure. Which, of course, because of the torque of this massive engine, we're going to need to adjust our trim settings as well. I'm not playing with the rudder. I want the rudder to stay exactly where it is, 2 units to the right. So any trim that I'm doing is strictly with aileron and pitch trim to kind of bring us down to where we should be. At least that is my hope. You know, I never did find landing lights on this thing. I know I've got the landing light set to a switch on the vertical. Let's see if that actually works anything. Oh, there it is. Okay, so that is the landing light switch. It's listed as tail running lights. Why, I have no idea, but, okay. At least we should get there before it is dark, so I am not too worried about that. And at least the sun is out of my eye, so that's also a good thing. One of the things that I would love to see in Microsoft Flight Simulator is more period-related scenery. Of course, Romantic Wings has absolutely knocked it out of the park with this pack of 5. Is it perfect? No, there are definite areas for improvement, but if I recall correctly, this was Romantic Wings' very first scenery package, so I would say they did a really good job of giving you some variety. And from my understanding, just from talking with the gentleman who created this, he actually got the idea to do this scenery pack from me after watching the Corsair video that I had put out way back when. And I am eternally grateful that he took that project under his wing, so to speak, because I think he did a pretty phenomenal job. So the link, of course, will be in the video description below. You can pick it up on Just Flight, and I would highly recommend that you throw him some money, because this was definitely a labor of love for an area of the world that is often neglected in flight simulators, period. So yeah, definitely pick it up. Definitely pick it up. So you can fly your Corsair here, you can fly this bird here, you can fly your P-40, your P-38s, all of them. And hopefully we'll eventually get some developers who would like to delve into the bombers. In particular, I would love to see a B-25, you know, the Mitchell, and the B-24, the Liberator. I would love to see those two. Of course, I would also love to see a B-17 and a B-29, but when you're talking about like my favorite World War II bombers, easily the Mitchell comes out number 1 and the Liberator comes in at number 2. But that's just me. Alright, we are getting ready to land, so let's go ahead and do some of our cleanup here. First things first, we'll open that up. And now that we are pretty close to home base, we will no longer need the cheat VFR map. I can still see you all rolling your eyes in the comments at me for using that, but you know what? For the purposes of the video, I wanted everything to go right. So stuff like autopilot and the VFR map, for me, is necessary. If I were flying off camera, absolutely no way any of those stuff would be up. It would just be flying by the seat of my pants, which is pretty much how I fly anyway, so there is that. Alright, I'm going to trim us up just a touch here, because we are dropping way too fast for my liking. just at about 1,400 feet. There we go. And you know what? Let me pop this up because I want to check our landing checklist here, just to make sure everything is kosher. All right, approach and landing. Let's go through this really quickly here as we run to the airport. Descent about 150, 1300 RPM, 15 manifold pressure, cabin hood open, fuel selector best tank. We don't have much choice on that. The only tank that's got gas in there is the left tank. Well, actually, I think the center has gas too, but we're going to run with the left tank just to kind of balance it out. Mixture is already on auto ridge. Supercharger is neutral. Cowl flaps are half open, kind of, sort of, maybe. Yeah, they are now. And let's see, arresting hook extended if carrier landing. Sorry folks, no carrier landing today. Oil cooler shutter, we want that closed. Intercooler also closed. So intercooler should already be closed, so we'll go ahead and just close the oil shutter. Landing gear will be down momentarily, tail wheel locked, and wing flaps lowered. Okay. Alright, we're going to close that out. You can see I'm already drifting. So let's take a look at the airport before we figure out how to bring this bird in. And we'll keep an eye on our speed here just to make sure everything is kosher. Remember I said there are 2 runways for this, so we're going to go to the outside view on the BelGeode landing cam, and we're going to check out what we have available here. Alrighty folks, this is our airport. This is what we were looking for. So let's see, speed's looking good. So we'll get ready to get the gear down on our downwind. I'm thinking we will make a right-hand bank for our downwind. I'm going to trim us up just a little bit here so we're not losing too much altitude. Let's see, we are at 1300 right now. Should be good. Start banking to the right. Give her a little bit of rudder. Look at that. The trees kind of look scanty, but as we get closer, you'll see that's really an LOD, or a level of detail issue. It'll clear itself up once we actually get down on the deck and can see everything perfectly. But look at that sunset over Guadalcanal. Oh, that's just gorgeous. That is just gorgeous. All right, let's make sure our prop pitch is full for this landing here. Okay, looking good. We're going to go back to the BelGeode landing cam in a moment here, because I'm going to want to get the gear out and the flaps down. Just trying to push myself out a little bit so that when I turn around I can actually land properly. And we are at 1,200 feet. Alright, back to the BelGeode landing cam. Okay, gear is down, flaps are down, everything is looking and feeling good. We do have that extra drag, so I'm going to compensate for that by trimming us up a bit. And we're just about ready for our turn to final. This is where the fun starts. So once again, let's try not to stall here while we're at it. Kick in some right rudder. Okay, folks, wish me luck. Get one shot to pull this off, and to stop in time. Actually, I think I'm more worried about stopping in time. Quick check. Okay, feeling good. A little bit low over these trees, though. Oh, boy. Alright, we're good to go. There's our little campfire thingies, and we'll try to get her somewhat on center line, but that's going to be difficult with this crosswind. Here we go. Here we go. Little bit of left rudder. Come on, baby. Come on. And drop it like it's hot. Okay, we're down at least, so that's a good sign. All right. And can we stop? Hey, look at that. We've got Corsairs. Try not to get too distracted here on my way in, but I'm giving her love taps on the brakes. We'll quickly go to outside view just to make sure we're not running out of runway. You know what's weird about this runway is it's so wide that I can't tell if I'm actually still on the runway or not. I'm going to assume I am, though. So let's go ahead and get the flaps up. And I need to find a decent parking spot. So they've got those little, what do they call those? Camo nets. I would love to be able to park in one of those, but I'm thinking trying to turn this bird around may get a little bit tricky. So you know what? Maybe what we should do is we should pull over here with these P-38 Lightnings. So let's do the old differential braking thing. And yeah, I'm thinking that's a good idea to park right in between those Lightnings. I'm sure they won't mind us going on the grass. We'll try not to hit the tree while we're at it. Quick look outside. And there we have it, folks. Welcome to Honiara on Guadalcanal. So just to remind you, the aircraft that we have been showing off today is by FlyingIron Simulations. That's FlyingIron singular. I see a lot of you all giving it a plural irons. It's not irons. It's iron. I think that only bothers me. It doesn't bother the developer. But the link, of course, is going to be in the video description. Highly recommend this aircraft if you love warbirds with big, throaty radial engines. The scenery pack that we have been using has been by Romantic Wings. It is their World War II Pacific scenery for the Solomon Islands. And I will remind you with that you get 5 different air bases just like this with all the little doohickeys on board. If there was a downside to this, the only thing I've noticed is he forgot to include windsocks, or at least I haven't found any windsocks. So it's kind of difficult to tell, which way the wind is blowing. But if that's the worst thing that I can say about the scenery pack, I would say he did a pretty dang good job. All right, so let's go ahead and shut everything down. So we'll get our prop pitch down all the way. I'm going to open up the cowl flaps, let the engine air out. There we go. And I just realized I had my tail wheel locked, so I inadvertently made things more difficult for myself. All right, so we'll go ahead and unlock that. And we will need to fold our wings, because that is the cool thing. So wing fold is locked. Wing fold is now unlocked. And I'm going to power us down here in a second. I want to do the wing fold before that. So here we go. Look at that. Probably one of the more complicated wing fold mechanisms for any World War II bird. But so cool. Absolutely cool. All right, let's power her down. There we go, just like that. The big cat is at rest. So thank you as always for watching, folks. This has been BelGeode. I have been flying in Microsoft Flight Simulator, still on Sim Update 9, but hopefully by the time you're watching this, Sim Update 10 should be out, and I'll have another chill vid for you at that point in time. Also, I am still working on my X-Plane 12 first look. It's taking a little longer because, you know, X-Plane 12 is in beta, and I want to make sure that the VR performance is worthy enough to show it off on the channel. But if you enjoy what you've seen for this particular video, please feel free to give me a like, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so. And I will be back sometime in the near future with some more Microsoft Flight Simulator goodness. Alrighty, folks, don't forget to pick up the Hellcat, and don't forget to pick up this scenery, and I will see you here in the Solomons. Maybe we can go dogfighting. Alrighty, folks. Ciao.